Hello, everyone. My name is Erika Borcel. I'm project manager for the medical informatics platform and responsible for the ethics in this project. During this presentation, I'm going to talk about the need of sharing data, and I will quickly present you the position of the European Commission about it. And then we'll see how federated models have appeared as a potential solution to facilitate data sharing. One of these solutions is the medical informatics platform, the MIP, and I will present you the steps required to prepare the data for the MIP accordingly to ethics and data privacy regulations. Medical and research activities produce a massive amount of data that could improve our knowledge and understanding of health and disease. Unfortunately, and despite growing incentive for open data, most of it remains currently locked in hospitals and research centers due to regulatory or cultural reasons. In the age of continuous technology evolution and scientific progress, connecting national and international multi-site medical data is crucial to bring personalized medicine. And this is particularly the case for rare diseases for which the size population is reduced and very distributed. And it requires a large international scale research to obtain meaningful results. One positive thing that the COVID pandemic situation has provided, it has boosted the necessity of global collaboration in research. So in order to make science and healthcare to advance, we need to take into account that traditional health-related data sharing is still very limited due to data protection regulation. On top of that, heterogeneity of local data protection and privacy regulation adds another level of complexity to a process that is already very complicated. And of course, we need to have in mind that technology and storage assets must evolve accordingly, because the computational resources required to process this growing amount of data increase beyond the technical capabilities of research institutions. What's the vision of the European Commission on data sharing? So, well, the European Union, of course, shares the vision of many researchers about the benefits of data sharing in health research activities, always in full compliance with data protection legislation. In fact, in the recent years, the European Commission has strongly supported initiatives oriented to develop open and secure environments to allow storage, sharing, and reuse of scientific data. I can mention, for example, the project Making Sense of Big Data in Health Research, which emphasized the specific need for federation. So we all agree that data protection, privacy and ethics regulation are necessary and crucial to protect patients' confidentiality, but unfortunately, this can affect negatively to research by limiting the access to the data and reducing the meaningfulness of results. So federated models have emerged as a potential solution for cross-center data sharing, as they propose to exchange aggregated statistical results instead of patients' data. The federated model does not require that the patient data is transferred out of the original institution's infrastructure, and therefore privacy is preserved and it complies with all legal and ethical regulations. So here you have a design, an example of a federation in which the different centers, they don't share the data that is hosted in each institution. The only thing this shared is the aggregated statistical results. So the first federated solutions in biomedical informatics appeared like 10 years ago, and they offer just very basic algorithms. And since then, more complicated systems have been developed. Among the most developed projects, we can find cloud-hosted solutions that only provide the storage or analytical tools, and other based on federated systems. So Within this data type, I can highlight several solutions. For example, the European Health Research and Innovation Cloud that will be implemented by the Healthy Cloud project funded by the European Commission. The MIP system is a federated system that will be applied within the Swiss personalized oncology project, and the data shield platform that provides our packages to perform federated analysis. And of course, we also have the medical informatics platform. So in conclusion, we are assisting now to a radical evolution in research and modular clinical practice by moving towards a new way of building international collaborations, always preserving individual privacy and data utility, thanks to the development of these federated solutions. So in order to protect patients' privacy rights, legislations all over the world are evolving to adapt to these new ways of data collection and sharing. Both the HIPAA in the United States and GDPR in Europe are adapting, are evolving towards like the direction. So let's focus on GDPR and its definition of pseudonymized and anonymized data. So GDPR still considers pseudonymized data as personal data, and therefore its transfer is strictly regulated. However, anonymized data is not considered personal data anymore, and therefore the regulation does not apply. However, it's important to have in mind that the anonymization standards required by our GDPR sometimes could reduce the usefulness of the data. So and it has been recently demonstrated that we can infer sensitive information from anonymized data when the number of individuals is too low, for example. And this is particularly delicate when referring to health-related data. For example, in the case of rare diseases, or when we refer to genetic information. So, and this consideration about the anonymized pseudonymized data is very important in our case because the federated MIP only contains anonymized data. So the medical informatics platform is one of the platforms developed under the HPP eBrains umbrella. The MIP is a data processing and analytics application that allows researchers and physicians to perform federated analysis on distributed data. In this case, data is never moved or copied or transferred between institutions. The MIP is going to compare and analyze different types of data, for example, neurophysiological, biological, medical records, and also data extracted from pre-processed neuroimaging. As I said before, as only anonymized data is entered into the MIP, it does not fall under the scope of the GDPR, as it's not considered personal data anymore. And moreover, the MIP only provides aggregated results. So MIP users cannot get access to individuals' patients' data. The MIP in its current version does not include the sharing of genome, exomes, or any other genetic sequences. And the MIP primarily contains algorithms that are intended to be used for research only and not for medical purpose. Currently, we offer the users two possibilities to use the MIP. So the first one is to install the MIP in the institution. So both MIP and data are hosted within the center, and the data is not copied, not transferred outside this the institution's infrastructure. Then, in another cases, the MIP and the data are hosted in a secure server on the eBrain's infrastructure in a specific virtual machine, and only centers' authorized staff will have access to the data. Therefore, it's the same. So this data will never be shared with other institutions from the same federation. However, in both cases, all the regulatory potential differences in research ethics for health-related data will be regulated by the establishment of a data sharing or a data transfer and use agreement between the participants. This document will set the standards of security and processing that all parties must comply with in order to protect the sharing and use of this data within the Federation. This is the current situation of the MIP. As you see, it has been installed in 33 centers, both in Europe and in non-European countries. We have already 13 agreements signed, and more than 30 hospitals and research centers have showed interest in installing the MIP. In this scenario, and in which centers could choose to use a virtual machine in eBrains, the MIP may receive research-related anonymized data from European and non-European countries to Switzerland, as this secure server is placed in Switzerland. This is not a problem because, according to the European Commission, Switzerland offers an adequate level of data protection. So, concerning the data that can be introduced in the MIP, so it can be health data previously acquired, so retrospective data acquired during the standard clinical practice within the framework of a clinical study or from a national registry. Or we can collect data specifically for the MIP within a specific study, so it will be prospective data. In both cases, only data obtained after the signature of an informed consent can be entered into the MIP. And centers are the only responsible instance to obtain this informed consent from the patients. Ethics approval to collect human data in general has to be provided by a competent authorities, such as national or regional research ethics committee. So, as I mentioned before, European principles governing research with human beings do not apply to the use of anonymized data, and therefore many countries exempt these studies from ethical review. This is the case of Switzerland, in which the ethics committee considers that the use of fully anonymized data only requires the ethical body to be notified, but it doesn't require the ethical authorization. However, in other EU members, they can implement further conditions on top of the GDPR regulations. So this is important to have in mind that legal and ethics validation processes can vary from one country to another. The request of ethics approval to share and reuse the anonymized data contained in the MIP needs to be evaluated independently by each participant institution. In order to help you with this in this process, the MIP team is preparing an ethics proposal that can be adapted to your local regulations if needed. So in conclusion, all data collected and processed in the context of the MIP must comply with European legislations and regulations. Each institution is the only responsible for the compliance of its data. they have to contact their national, regional ethics commission and legal bodies, and they need to obtain informed consent before entering any data on the MIP. The Human Brain Project MIP Data Governance Steering Committee can give you advice to address specific ethical issues related to the use of the platform. And as I mentioned before, the regulatory jurisdictional divergences that may appear in research ethics for health-related data will be regulated by the establishment of a DTA or a DCA. So if you have any specific questions about the regulation or the ethics around the use of the medical informatics platform, so don't hesitate in contact with me. I give you here a list of references that could be useful for you. Thank you very much for your attention.